Welcome, everybody. This is Pauline Valvo with High Global, and I have Marci Graham here as well. She is one of our workshop facilitators, and I am so thrilled that she was willing to join me tonight and join all of you and talk about something that she's really passionate about and something that she brings to everything she does, and especially all the workshops that she leads. And Marci, it's one of the things I really appreciate about you is how you walk through life so powerfully in your body and grounded and present, and yet you're still also able to be flexible and flow with whatever's happening and bring your heart to that as well. And it's a really beautiful combination. So I'm looking forward to tonight and to hearing more about this part of who you are, and I'm sure I'll learn a thing or two also. Thanks.
I'm excited to be. Actually, I'm so many things to be here. It's such a interesting experience for me to be signing up to speak to people about something that's so in my body that it often doesn't have words, you know. And it's a very challenging subject in some ways to talk about. And anyway, but we're gonna give it a shot here. And thank you for that introduction, Pauline. I really appreciate you in so many ways, and that was lovely. And I like being seen by you in that way. So this idea of being embodied is it's just huge, actually, to me. And I feel like it's the way that I walk around in the world. And I've done it for so long and been in this place for such a long time that it just almost feels like, you mean everybody else isn't having this experience? And yet I go out into the world and at workshops, and I feel people in an upset sometimes, or in agitated, letting their whatever is going on in them kind of wash through them in a way that doesn't actually serve them. And so what I'm hoping for tonight and wanting to share is some techniques, but also just kind of the philosophy of it, and whatever actually occurs. One of the main things in my world is to be in inquiry with what is actually occurring. And that's not really the way the world presents itself. The world presents itself often in what I have to do next, what's next on my schedule, what's my agenda. And if I'm really where I want to be, I'm just in this inquiry with, well, what's happening now and what's happening now. So what I really hope that we can feel a sense of connection with ourselves today. And I don't know, I have to tell you that it would be so much better if I could see all of your faces, because what I just said, my response to what's actually occurring, and I'm looking at you, beautiful Pauline, but I'm not able to see other people's faces, and that makes it, again, I'm just going to say, challenging. So I want to start us with actually grounding right now. So just if it works for you, if you're not driving, I think some of you may be in transit, so don't do this if you're driving. But if you're sitting in a room where you can, and you can just gently close your eyes and take a breath. And I'm going to be right with you with this. Just breathe and just notice where your breath is in your body. Not asking you to change it at all, but just where is it in your body? Let's take another breath. And another. Feeling your body expand and contract wherever it happens to be expanding and contracting. And notice if there's any places at all that you're holding on to something, that maybe a shoulder is tight. Check your hands to see if your hands are clenched or soft. What position your legs are in. And then just feel your feet wherever they're touching the ground or whatever they're touching. Some of you may be sitting cross-legged or something. Just feel the bottoms of your feet. And again, notice that breath coming in nice and slow, gently. I invite you into the idea that you are releasing to the in-breath and releasing to the out-breath. Often in our culture, we kind of take a breath like, oh, I have to do this, like the in-breath is almost a muscular taking in. And this, I'm asking you to release to the in-breath. So your shoulders are soft, your belly is soft, you're feeling your feet, and releasing your body to the in-breath so that it fully expands you. And then notice if your belly is opening, is contracting or expanding with the breath. And another breath and expanding your belly with the breath. Nice soft belly. Just being right present with your body in this moment. And then also noticing your sitting bones. Are your sitting bones connected to what you're sitting on? And if they're not, just allow them to get heavier, as if they're sinking through the tissue into whatever surface you're sitting on, so that you're now present to your feet, present to your sitting bones, your belly, and this gentle inflow of breath and outflow. So you're releasing to the in-breath and releasing to the out-breath. Both things. Both things. Just notice if there's any tension at all and take a breath right into that spot. Just going to take a few breaths right with you. And if it helps you even to make an audible exhale, go ahead and do that. And feel yourself right exactly where you are in your chair, in front of this screen, and present to you. Present to you. And then just gently open your eyes and notice how you feel in this moment. Guess I can't get any feedback, can I, Pauline?
Well, I have to tell you, I already feel more present and relaxed and in my body. That was really lovely. Thank you. The piece around releasing on the in-breath is new for me. I haven't ever quite heard it like that, and it changed my experience of being with the breath. Okay. And we do actually have a way that we can get feedback during the session. We have a chat feature. So anybody who's connected via the computer, via the video call, I know some of you probably just called in, but if you're here with us on the computer, if you go to the bottom of the window, you have to actually move your mouse to the bottom, and then a bar of icons appears, and one of them says chat. And so if we all have that open during the call, then people can ask questions as they come up, or Marci, if you want to hear a word or two from people while we're talking, people can write that way.
Yes, thank you. I'm delighted that I've got my little chat bar open. So if anybody just wants to say a word at any time, especially after an exercise of how you felt, I would be grateful to see it, because like I said, being present in your body is being present to everything. And right now it's a screen in front of me and I'm not seeing you. So those words are helping me. That would be
so
great.
Are you seeing some of them? I see great releasing, deeply relaxing, grounding.
Great. So the releasing on the in-breath was kind of new for you, Pauline, and
Yeah,
it looks like
someone else mentioned that too.
people. So it's a shift from the doing part of our world to a receiving part of our world, which is the shift from masculine to feminine, doing and being and all of that. So great. Glad to hear that. And I'm glad to see the comments.
And I want to say too, the reason we're keeping the focus on Marci and myself is because we're recording this session. And so we just want to honor everybody's confidentiality and also have just a nice clean picture as much as we can for the recording. And later when we do take questions, it's up to you if you want to turn your video on to connect in that moment while you're asking Marci a question. That works fine for us.
Oh, good. Good. That's great.
And just a little roadmap of how this is going to go. Basically, Marci's going to tell us more about herself and the experiences she had in her life that got her to this point of this just being her natural way of being without even having to think about it. And then talk about a little bit what she's really passionate about right now and this new thing that she's bringing to the world, which I'm really excited to learn more about. And then we will have time at the end for questions.
Great. Great. All right. So, are you going to start with a question, or am I going to just jump here?
Well, I would love to hear you give us a little background. Imagine you're talking to people who have never met you before, and who are you, and why is this important to you, and what are some of the key experiences in your life that brought you to this kind of work? Being in your body being so important for you.
I've been thinking about what started me on this path, and it was very funny. I took myself on this little meditation, and I suddenly remembered being like in the 3rd grade. And you remember they used to have bars on the playground, and you'd twirl, and some of you may remember, some of you might not. And I would twirl for hours. It's like there was something for me in how my body was feeling in that I loved doing, and I don't know how it fits with this journey, except for that it feels like it fits. And then in my high school experience, or junior high actually, was in a sacred dance choir. So you can take the word choir and put it aside. It was a group that we did interpretive dance, and it was through a church, but I had experiences moving my body in ways where I felt so deeply connected to spirit, to love, and some way that my movement was way bigger than my words could ever be. My movement was an expression of something that it was almost without words. So here we are again without words. And then I moved through life, and I was very deeply involved in yoga for a long time. I took jillions of classes, and then by some very strange experience, I ended up teaching yoga, and I taught yoga for about 7 years, 5, 8, 6 classes a week, and that experience really grounded me. Those of you that are yogis know that there's a shavasana at the end, which is a relaxation, and I talked people through shavasana so many times that it got into my cells, so that it's very much a part of me. The other thing that I'm thinking of right now is I also did massage training, which was a lot about, well, of course, you know what massage is, but the way I was taught was to be fully present in my body while I was touching someone else, so that I was, it wasn't a thing I was doing, I was being with the person, being with their challenging places, with their stuck places, and that kept me even more focused on the body. Then I did a training called cell release training, which was about being present to the person through the breath. And I'm hearing a voice. I don't know if is that me echoing? No, I don't know. I heard a voice. So if you're just joining, you might want to put yourself on mute. I'm glad you're here. So the cell release training was a really powerful experience where it was about being fully present, again, with myself while being present to someone else. And then I moved to California and began taking Continuum classes, and Continuum totally changed my world. And it's a movement practice based on inquiry, based on water, based on fluids, and the way water moves. Like, water doesn't do like this. It flows. It's spirals, it curves, and that landed in me not just in a way that I did the practice, but in a way that it went into how I am with people in communication. I guess that would be the thing I want to say about that. And then most recently, I read a book that completely knocked my socks off, if you will. And it was called New Self, New World by a gentleman named Philip Shepard. And his process is called the Embodied Present process. And so a year ago, I started his teacher training. And it's a very unique individual, and his book is dense and intense. And I have loved the learning with him. And what his perspective in a very short sentence is bringing the feminine, which is fascinating that it's a gentleman, bringing the feminine, but he's putting words around what the feminine is in relation to our culture, that it just feels solid and different than most people speak of it. And so this teacher training is about a series of techniques that are really very simple and lovely, and that can take you from that place that we sometimes are in our world where we're disconnected, or we're upset, or we're afraid, and bring us back to center, bring us back to core, so that we can actually be present to people the way we want to. And I want to just tell you a really fast, I was at some people's house for dinner the other night, and there was some tension in the room, and I didn't know anything about that tension. But at the end of the evening, the gentleman was standing by me, and I shared a hug with him, and he looked at me and he said, "What did you do?" And I'm like, "I don't know, what did I do?" He said, "I feel really different standing by you. I feel like softer," or I can't remember his words actually, but I remember how it felt to have him suddenly go out of the place that was nervous and he was a little agitated actually, to, I'm okay now. And I felt like that place that I stand in, that I walk around in the world in, contributed to that. So that was a long answer.
Well, thank you, though. You've had a lot of really fascinating experiences, and I can see how they're all tied together, that common theme of sinking more deeply into your body and being present. I mean, that's the word that keeps coming up over and over again, is present. And, I've used the word grounded, and I feel like I hear that word a lot, like people want to learn how to be more grounded.
Mm-hmm.
And right now, I'm wondering if a lot of that has to do with being present. What's your thought on that?
Well, smart woman you are. I think they're completely interrelated. I don't think you can be present to another person if you're not grounded. And I don't know if you can be grounded and not be present. I think they're just this flow together. I know that when I take myself in, if I'm feeling not grounded, that I'm suddenly more present to the world, more present to myself, to my feelings, and to what I want to have happen next, or what the world's calling for. It's kind of like the world is calling for something from me when I'm grounded. I can feel that. So it's, instead of being reactive, is being responsive. So I believe that being present and grounded, and my experience is being present and grounded, helps me to respond in a way that feels calm and relaxing and reassuring, actually, in lots of ways.
Yeah, that story you told was really striking to me, about the man just being in your presence, he shifted. And I do see that with people. The more present, the more grounded, and almost like being a container for what is, out of that way of being, can open something up for other people, where they can just relax into being all of who they are.
I think it's like we give permission by standing in that place of like, well, here I am, just myself, and therefore there you are, and just yourself, and people relax in that place. It's lovely to be with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, cool.
Anything else about being grounded to help people recognize maybe when they're not grounded or when they are grounded? What does it feel like for you? Can you describe any sensations? Maybe physical?
When I feel grounded, and this moment is different than I felt about an hour ago. I will admit to being a little nervous. And when I feel nervous, there's a kind of a quivery sensation sometimes. That's my experience. But when I'm grounded, I actually have the feeling of my body in space, and the sensations come in. Like I can feel the bottoms of my feet. I can feel fabric on my clothing next to my skin. I feel I'm very aware of my breath and what it's doing. I notice if I'm breathing way up here, I'm not grounded. Not grounded at all if my breath is up. And also, this is a thing that I notice when I'm leading workshops. My voice can get way up here. You feel yourself when you get nervous. You talk really fast and my voice gets high. When I'm grounded, and I'm going to just go a little deeper in myself. When I'm grounded, I'm speaking from a much lower place in my body, my pelvic bowl, actually, which we'll be talking about. So I have a sense of my bones as well.
Yeah, great description. I feel more connected to the earth too when I'm really grounded. And like my whole come from is lower down in my body. It's not so much up here or high vibration, fast energy. It's like deeper,
Exactly.
Lower.
Yeah. You know, our culture has this value on thinking, and which is very masculine. And what I know and believe is that the deeper we go in the body is accessing the deep feminine and the knowing, and this place where we massively communicate and massively connect. That's the deep feminine, and it feels solid. I guess there's a solidity in my body when I'm feeling. I'm seeing some great comments here. Somebody said their voice actually lowers when they're grounded, and yeah, and I think it also slows down.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So we've talked a little bit about being grounded in our bodies and then the thinking side, and there's also the element of spirit. What do you see the connection between those three, body, mind, and spirit?
So this is a really interesting conundrum for me. I hear this, this has been a way we've talked about things forever, the last 20 years. And truly, we are one thing. And being grounded, being present is about our wholeness. We are one thing. Our head is not detached from us. Our spirit is not detached from us. And so we're not three things, a body and a mind and a spirit walking around. And I think it's really hard to speak about those things and not have them sound separate. But I believe to embody ourselves, we have to get that our spirit's here, that our knowing is here, that our thinking is here. We have neural tissue in our heads. We have neural tissue. This is the thinking stuff. We have neural tissue in our heart, and there's also neural tissue in our belly. And most people don't have the awareness of that, but it's scientifically proven now. And so our whole body is thinking, like our whole cells are, this whole body is giving us information all the time. And sensation is the language of the body. So, I was talking about when I was in the dance choir, and I would have this rising gush of almost ecstatic, and it was my body telling me that I was connected to something way bigger than me. That was spirit to me. When when I'm with someone and they're telling me a story, and I might be leading a workshop or something, and I'm hearing their disturbance, and I'm like, oh, I have no idea in the world what I'm going to say to them. And then I just breathe, and suddenly something arises, and I believe that's my body's telling me. Some resonance happens somewhere, and so I can't talk about body, mind, and spirit anymore. I just want to talk about wholeness. I don't know if that's a sufficient answer, but that's kind of where I am with that.
That makes a lot of sense. And also I'm tapping into this idea of balance, of, wholeness is embracing all aspects of who we are. And maybe part of being really present and grounded is holding all of that in balance, not going too far in any one direction, but integrating all of who we are.
Well, that works because integration is one of the qualities of the deep feminine. And I am all things, you are all things. We are all things. We're not separate parts. In fact, I think about the word science often. The root of science, there's a connection with, I think it's a Latin scire, and it means to separate, to cut off. And science is lovely and powerful and important in the world, but it takes things and makes them into compartments instead of wholeness. And so we need science, and science is serving us well now. But there's a way when we want to get in touch with ourselves and how we connect and be with people, that doesn't serve. We need the wholeness to be with us.
And so when you're in that place of wholeness, when you're integrating all, and I'm kind of getting that this term embodied presence is that. It's the actual living of this way of being whole, of being present and aware. When you're in that place, do you sense things differently? Are you able to tap into different feelings in a different way? Like, is it easier to be compassionate or empathetic, or do you not get triggered into anger as easily? What's your experience been like?
Thank you. That's a great question. When I'm fully there, I close my eyes when I'm feeling myself. First of all, you can't think your way to wholeness. You have to feel your way to wholeness, right? So, what do I feel? I often am in touch with my feet and my connection to the earth and nature. But it's not a specific picture. The sensation. Well, we're gonna move into an exercise in a little bit to actually feel the pelvic bowl, and I don't know if now might be the right time to do that. Empathetic, I think. Isn't that funny? I think I go up here. I feel I go down in. I believe my experience with other people is that I am empathetic most of the time. But if I'm really working it, if I'm like sitting in a really deep exercise with myself, it's more like an expansion. Like I feel like my skin isn't holding me in so tightly. Never really said it like that before, but there's I just am like, oh, my heart goes out to people more. It's like my heart expands also, and there's room, for like, y'all come in here now. I want to hold you. And my judgments fall away. Yes, we all have judgments, but they just like get out of the way. And like the human to human, being to being connection, just, like that's all it makes me want to cry. It's all I really want. That's really all I want, is to be able to feel another and have them feel me back and forth. There's something really, really deeply powerful about that. Yeah.
And it sounds like the more you deepen into this, the greater your capacity to be and be present with whatever's happening or whoever you're with. And I'm getting this sense too of, you said expansion, but it's like openness. Mm-hmm. And like more of you is available to connect with more of the other person. Which is really
beautifully said. Yeah. It's like little doors and windows are opening all over. I once said to this person, I said, this gentleman was approaching me, and I was very much in a meditation, and I'm like, do you not have any radar for where the other person is? And it was a little bratty of me, I have to say, but I had this experience of little radar dishes all over my whole, I mean, like every cell is going, yes, and yes, what do you want from me? What does the world want from me? How can I take the world into me, into my core, so that I'm even more present to anything, to a tree, to a stone, to a bird, and to other people, like, wow, I look at the flowers blooming around my house and they bring me to tears. They're so beautiful because I'm just going to breathe with this flower. I'm just going to breathe with this tree and become them, in a deep and gorgeous exchange.
So I'm going to switch topics here a little bit. One of the things that your summary, your description of what this event would be about in the post we put on Facebook and things, you asked a couple questions. And you asked, have you ever felt like you've lost your power, or ever felt like when you most needed to be in your power, it slipped away? And so what were those questions about, and how can this embodied presence help us reclaim that power?
So this is the moment when I want everyone to raise their hands and say, okay, how many of you have ever had that moment when, oh shit, I just lost everything I knew. I don't know what to say. Yeah, you're raising your hand. If anybody wants to put on the chat, yeah, me too, me too. Yes, of course. Yes, of course. I think that happens to all of us sometimes, that the things come crashing in. And in the moment that I notice that I'm no longer centered and grounded, that's when I want to go back in. So those questions I ask because I believe that's the human experience, that we lose it sometimes. And this training that I'm doing are some really simple techniques that that you can do like in a minute. You can, once you practice them a little bit, the one I'm going to do in just a moment, I think this is a good time, might take us about 5 minutes. But once you have the visual and have a felt sense of this grounding, you can access it. And I guess that they're access points, Pauline. They is what I want to offer people, so that they can get back to their power. They can get back to themselves and not let the world buffet them around, not let other people buffet them around. In leading workshops around the world, I've met way too many people that don't have a solid no. They don't know how to stand their ground, or they haven't in the past. And I'm seeing lots of, I'm raising my hand. So if I could give anything to the world, especially to those that feel unempowered, to have a moment when they can go, oh, I've got this. I can do this. I don't have to be pushed around by life, by a person, by a situation ever again. So shall we do an exercise? Okay. Again, if you're driving or something, please don't. But if you're in a place where you can stand, I'm going to just let me know if I get back here. Can you still hear me, Pauline? How's my sound?
Talking. Let's see.
Like this far away? Can you hear me?
I can, yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's good.
So everybody stand that can, if you're able. And just feel your feet on the ground and gently bend your knees, just a little bit. Bend your knees. And then just begin to move your hips in a figure eight. Figure eight like this, side to side. Side to side. Imagine that your belly button is the place that it's leading from. So you could imagine like a cord or a pencil going from your belly button, from your core, and tracing a figure eight on the ground. And then letting that get faster and bigger and faster and bigger and faster and bigger. And now faster and smaller and smaller and smaller. Really, really fast now, that little figure eight. Really fast inside there. Until you're still feeling that figure eight. Imagine it's like a little silver ball or a gold ball going around on a track, around and around. That you could be standing in a grocery store line doing this and no one would even know. All right, then pause it and just feel the energy there. And I'm going to ask you to drop the awareness about 2 inches from your belly button, down deeper at the top rim of your pelvic floor. And do the same thing just for a moment. Little tiny figure eights. Twigs, kind of like I want to make a sound. And then pause. And now take the figure eight with your shiny little ball, maybe it's gold, silver, whatever color is right for you, and go forward and back. First, make nice big loops. And then get them faster and faster and faster. Till they're really, really fast, and then start letting them get smaller and faster, smaller and faster. Front to back, front to back, front to back, front to back. Teeny tiny ones, front to back. And then pause. Feel the energy in your pelvic bowl. And then now find that ball again, whatever color, maybe it's shinier than it was before, and let the ball make figure eights up and down. From that point below the belly button, up into the torso, a little bit above the belly button. Up and down, up and down. First big, so your whole body actually feels it. And then smaller and smaller and faster, moving your pelvis, moving your torso. Faster, 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 and smaller and smaller. It's very, very tiny. Again, you're in the grocery store line. Nobody knows you're doing this. And pause. And now for the last piece, you're going to go from side to side, to front to back, to up and down. Do it once or twice big. Front, back, up and down. And then let it get tiny and fast. Side to side, front to back, up and down. Side to side, front to back, up and down. Until you just feel it, visualize that energy ball moving all those directions. Tiny, tiny, really tiny. And then let it pause. And I'm going to come closer to the screen, but if you're standing, please still stay there. Stay there. And let that ball now gently descend to your perineum. So your perineum is the tissue of the pelvic floor. Little sling of muscle there goes between the genitals and the anus, and the perineum is just think of it as a little soft landing place. Just let it sink until that shiny, colorful ball, whatever was your energy there, is sitting on your perineum. And it might have a little, you're like, oh, I'm not quite ready. Perineum's a little spongy. It might have a little bounce. That's okay. Just let it settle in its own time till you can feel that energy sitting there. This is like bringing aliveness to your whole pelvic bowl. Your whole pelvic bowl. An enlivened, pulsing point of awareness. Just feel that right there. That's your perineum. And we're going to be accessing the perineum. If you don't have a physical felt sense of your perineum, if you squeeze the muscle like a Kegel, but the one that would keep you from, make your urination stop, that's just a little squeeze, then you can, that's the perineum muscle, actually. So I don't want you to contract it and hold it, but just a little like, whoop, there it is. That's the perineum. That's where we want to land this ball of energy that you just woke up your whole pelvic bowl too, okay? Okay, now we're going to stay where you are. If you're still standing, if you're okay standing, if you want to, you can sit, but keep that aliveness in the perineum. And then sit or stand. And imagine from that, the ball sitting on your perineum, there's a tube that goes all the way up to the top of your head. And it includes your spine. Your whole spinal cord is part of that. And it's maybe like 3 or 4 inches in diameter. Just feel that. Just take a nice breath together if you forgot to breathe in any way. And so then you're leaving that ball of energy on your perineum and you're coming up to the top of your head. And just imagine that you can find the center of your awareness in your head, in your cranium, in your skull. And that it might be like feeling of a collection of thoughts, could feel like a collection of thoughts, could just be where there's an intense sensation. And again, form a little ball there of a color that feels right to you. I don't know what your right is. I feel kind of a ball of energy. It's not like a solid thing. It's kind of like mine's kind of golden, shiny, bright, and it could be purple, it could be red, it could be any color, just notice. And notice when you feel into the center of your awareness in your head, that you can move it around. So whatever color that ball is, you might be able to roll it to the back of your head, the side, down by your forehead. But let it then, after you've felt that, come back right to the top of where that tube came through your cranium tube. And now we're going to take that center of your awareness with your thoughts, with everything that's going on, and begin to let it drop slowly, slowly, slowly down the tube, down the tube. So it goes through your whole head. It might just be dropping slowly, kind of like when a pebble drops into water. It might be, spiraling just a little bit. I have any continuum people out there, there may be that tendency to want it to spiral down. Goes through your neck. Goes through your chest, just dropping at your speed. Through your belly area, past your belly button. And if there's a spot that says, I don't really want to go, if it's like having some pause, just put your hand where that spot is and send some extra love there. It may be a place that needs some attention later, but right now, just tell it, it's okay. It's okay to drop. It's okay to drop. I love you just the way you are. And let it keep dropping now through the whole pelvic bowl until it drops even deeper into the perineum. And merges with the other ball that you left there. Merges there. And again, it might take a moment. If your ball's having a longer journey, just let it come on down. Let it come on down. And just gently integrating, connecting with the ball on your perineum. And then those of you that are still standing, if your eyes are closed, just gently open them and just notice what you see first. And maybe take a few steps around the room that you're in. And notice things. And when you come upon something that catches your attention, just be present to it. If you have the words just this can come if you're if you feel your awareness moving, like just this. It could be a pencil on your desk, just this. Or a picture on the wall, or a spot on the wall, or a window, or something you're looking out at. Just this. Keeping your awareness on your perineum in your pelvic bowl. Take a couple nice deep breaths into the pelvic bowl. And then find your way back to your chair. And opening your eyes and coming back. Pauline will be coming back in a moment here. And there you are. So this would be the time, if we were in a workshop together, that I'd have everyone sit in a circle and say, so what just happened for you? And so if anybody wants to say just a word or a phrase at the most into the chat, that would be great. Pauline, anything that happened for you? Great.
Yeah, I found it quite powerful. I liked the figure eights. I definitely felt energy move in a different way than I had before. I'm not somebody who does a lot of movement stuff or a lot of time paying attention to my body. So this was nice to pay attention in a different way. And then it was really easy to drop the ball down to the perineum and then bring it up. And then I loved that kind of swirling it down. It actually reminded me a lot of a chakra balancing meditation that I do. And I'll hold any questions I have for you until we get comments from other people. But I felt more balanced at the end of it, and that my awareness is in a deep, deep place in my body, deep in my pelvis. And I do have a quick question that I would love for you to answer before we read comments. You used the term pelvic bowl a lot, and what exactly is that?
Thank you for asking that. So if you want to think of your bony structure, your skeletal structure. So here comes the spine, and then if you bring your fingers, actually I'll stand up, like right here, here's your belly button, and go across and a little bit down. This is your ischial tuberosity here. No, the rim, I had the wrong bone. Anyway, that bone then is shaped kind of like this, and then it comes around, and your sacrum is at the back. Mm-hmm. And so it really creates a bowl. There's a, I should have looked up my skeleton words, where the thigh bone hooks in is also connected with that. But just mentioning that the word sacrum actually means sacred. Mm-hmm. So in history, the pelvic bowl is considered sacred, and that is also why it's the feminine, why it's the place of intuitive knowing. So it's actually did a clay sculpture once of the pelvic bowl, and of course it couldn't hold water because it's not closed at the bottom. It would be a very cool thing to make a bowl that was holding the energy of the pelvis, because it's a really powerful thing.
Yeah, and
thank you.
That is bigger to me. I mean, I didn't know exactly what it was, but just what the connotations that came to mind when you were speaking it. I felt that energy in a much larger part of my body. Usually I just focus on the perineum, or like that root chakra, which is a really small part. And the bowl felt bigger and expansive, and like there was more energy, more presence there.
It is. There's lots of room there to hold our knowing. It's way bigger than we are, actually. It's bigger than the bones. It's in the bones. It's really great. So yeah.
So let's look at what some other people said.
Okay.
Noticed light had a different quality when I opened my eyes and focused on something in the room. That's like what you were talking about, that heightened awareness of every little thing.
Holistic.
a holistic, integrative presence.
Great.
I
Okay.
think everybody who's on the computer at least can see all of these comments, but if we have someone here just on the phone, they can't see these. So wanted to read some of these. I like this one at the end. What I felt or imagined was that my head or brain was sunk down into my pelvis. That takes us back to that wholeness, right? That integration.
Exactly. Well, and a whole other piece, so I wasn't even going to bring this up, but in some ancient cultures, they actually believed we had two skulls. This one and the pelvic bowl was another skull. That's how connected ancient cultures actually were. Like, this is not the thing that does all of the work in the world. We are whole. In fact, I have to say this just drives me nuts. You know, if you want a symbol of how disconnected we are as a culture from our head, you know, the little pictures on the bathrooms that have a round circle, no neck, and then a little person with pants on, and then a little person with a skirt on for restrooms. It's just, whenever I look at it, I'm like, no, we're one thing. We have a neck. This is communicating with everything below, and everything below is communicating with everything above. We're one thing. So I should probably take a Sharpie and go put necks on all of them that I see or something. Yeah. Okay. So so that little figure 8 exercise, you can do that in a minute. You don't have to go through the whole bit, but you practice it, and it really brings a vibrant aliveness into the pelvic bowl that you can go, okay, whoa, I need that. Hello, and then come up, gather your center of awareness, and just drop that ball down. And you will, if you practice it, my experience is I can do it in like 2 breaths. Okay, I'm here now. I'm right here. I'm with myself. I can be present to this person, even if I'm disturbed about something else that's going on. Yeah.
Yeah, I love how easily it is to practice this and use it in our lives. So thanks for sharing the exercise with us. I like how you said you could do it in a grocery store line. Those are the kinds of tools I need.
Most of us do. Driving in the car, I mean, we need to be present in the car. We need all of it. So, yeah.
And things that fit into our daily lives, not just this idea of I'm going to go do yoga or meditate for an hour, but what can I do when I'm walking through my life, having experiences, and want to stay present and in my body. Okay. So do you see a tie-in with the chakras at all here? Because it very much reminded me of that.
So yes, the chakras, of course, are an ancient energy system. So, they knew way more than we way back then. Here's where that energy lives. So yes, it would be the second chakra, which is where the sexual organs are, the reproduction, or the creative chakra. So we're bringing our attention and our awareness and our love and our power in there. And so the pelvic bowl is the bony structure, the chakras like the spiritual part, and then the sensations are kind of like almost like the physical manifestation of it. So it's like one really yummy, juicy part of it. It's the feminine. And I want to just speak to that because I've been talking the feminine. We all, every person, no matter your gender, has the feminine and the masculine in you. So I just wanted to make sure that everyone has that, and we can access it however we can access it by intention, by practice. Yeah.
And this way of being in our pelvic bowl is accessing the feminine, is what you're saying.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And so is there a connection at all between that and our sexual, I think you mentioned our sexual organs, with our yoni or our sexuality for females?
I have the personal experience of being so connected to the sensations in my body that my sexuality is really expanded, and I'll just go right for it. Orgasms are long and intense because actually through the practice of continuum, the focus is to participate with a sensation. And so that with the strongest sensation in your body. So when a person is being sexual, there might be several going on, but to find the strongest sensation and just breathe, 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 stay with that. All of a sudden, I mean, for me, it's just like I think some people are thinking about other things while they're having sex, like, well, I have to go to the grocery store, don't forget the strawberries, blah, blah, blah. And to just keep bringing your attention back to the sensation that is the feminine, and it is the pelvic bowl's wisdom. It's the wisdom right there to fully have our experience, to just deeply, deeply let yourself have whatever you're having all the time. And it takes that intention to go out of here, down into my body, into whatever part is being stimulated that feels good, and stay there, and it expands the experience. So chakra, yoni, pelvic bowl, sex, it's like all one delicious, I don't know what, wholeness is one delicious wholeness. That's what it is. Yeah.
And it reminds me of some of what we were talking about at the beginning about that expansion. And the more we soften into that and the more fully we allow ourselves to experience everything, it's like all of life would be more intense, including sexuality.
Yeah, right. And another piece of this is actually being gentle with ourselves. There's this, our culture doesn't allow a lot of that. In our world, we're just like one thing after the next. And to slow down, slow way down, and be gentle. And this is a little quip that's like, as we relate to the body, so we relate to the world. So when we come to our body with gentleness, with kindness, with love, with full attention, with focus, with presence, that will translate to the world. You will go to the world and relate to the world differently. And the world is a big word for a million tiny details, whether it's the flower or a person or a building or a tree.
Lovely.
Yeah. Mm.
So you've mentioned continuum a lot. How does that fit into this? And is that a set of teachings? I'm not familiar with it at all. Can you tell us a little something, or maybe the big learnings you had from your time practicing that?
Continuum is a movement practice, and I studied it like weekly, a class and a private session weekly for about 8 years. Plus, I can't tell you how many weekend workshops and many week-long, we call them dives. And the focus of continuum, I think I said before, is the movement of water. And the founder of continuum would say, movement is not something we do. Movement is who we are. Because if you've ever tried to sit still, really you can't. There's no full stillness anywhere. Something's moving all the time. So movement is what we are. And that was also the practice that brought me to focus on sensation, on the strongest sensation, and moving in spirals and arcs. And the other thing that continuum brought to me in 1,000 tons is slowing down, the benefit of slowing down. And one of the exercises we used to do was to throw our keys on the floor. And the teacher would say, now take 40 days and 40 nights to pick up your keys. Now you want to know that you can't really do that. But the idea of slowing down that much, my very first class, we were lying on our backs with our arms out to the side. And the entire exercise was to take your hand from this here and back in one time in like 40 minutes, one time. And what was miraculous was how I began to understand how the rest of my body participated with this movement. There'd be a little shimmer over here, a little, stuck place over there, a little, hello, move this way. And it just brought me into such deep communion, actually, with my body that I never wanted to leave. It's so powerful. I always felt in Continuum like I was getting a download, like I was just getting all this information, which I could not put to words, but I could walk around the world with more open, more responsive, more in love with the world. Actually. It's a huge topic. I could talk for hours about Continuum, but and the other word I want to say about it is it taught me to live in inquiry. That's, if there was one word for Continuum, inquiry. Be an inquiry about everything. I think we often go around in the world thinking we need to know an answer. And the world is set up that way. The culture is set up that way, that we're supposed to know things and have an answer. And so often in a dilemma, I'll be like, somebody will say, well, what are we going to do? And I'm like, the first thing that comes into me is a question for the person that has this situation. And you know what? They always know. And when I ask myself questions, I know a lot more when I am in inquiry with me than when I think I have to have the solution. It's very masculine to have solutions. And,
so that might be a tie-in to the embodied presence, is
absolutely.
To be in inquiry with your body, be in flow, go slowly.
Yeah. Exactly. So that's why I took the training. I'm like, oh, this is going to do this. Continuum is kind of a long, flowy, you go to the class, you do a dive for an hour. And this is like taking the essence of Continuum and dropping it into a couple techniques. Not that one would take over for the other. I don't mean that, but I'm not saying this really
well. They complement each other quite nicely, it sounds like.
Yeah, definitely.
And the embodied presence gives you some practical tools that you can use more quickly if needed.
Exactly.
Not to replace the other, though.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly.
So you talked about embodied presence can help us access freedom. And I'm getting the expansiveness, I'm getting the presence. What's the freedom about? It's freedom to do or be what?
In me, it's a freedom to be more me and to trust myself. And I notice there are lots of people that don't trust themselves in the world, and they ask a lot of questions. And when I'm grounded and really feel my pelvic bowl and I'm really in it, I don't have very many questions left. I'm just like there, which gives me the freedom to speak whatever arises, to move in a way that feels integral and in integrity to me, to interact with someone freely. There's some it's like no hesitation, I guess. Like I don't have the hesitation of like, am I doing this right? Is this the way I'm supposed to do something? Like, no, if I'm like in my body, it's like, oh, blah, 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 blah. This is what's called for. I have a better access to what is required of me in the moment, required from my heart, body. Oh, I want to say something about the heart too. A lot of people talk about being in the heart, which is essential in the world, but in wholeness, if you think of it as the pelvic bowl as the foundation, the knowing, then the love from the heart has this great infrastructure to hold it up so that it's even, the power of love and in the heart is even bigger when you're fully embodied, not ignoring the lower half of your body. And a lot of people are like, nope, nothing down there. can't talk about down there. So that's the, I don't know, I just had to add that in.
Yeah, thank you. I was actually thinking about that. I often say that I'm trying to live heart-centered or love-centered, and I think I do hang out in that. That's probably the chakra that's the most wide open in me, right? And I do get what you're saying about having that foundation underneath. It's almost like having really deep roots that hold firm and give a strong base to that heart, that love energy.
Yeah.
Very powerful.
Yeah.
I keep coming back to wholeness with everything that you're talking about, and that freedom. I wonder if part of it is not having to have expectations, or it's like free to be all of who you are, authentically, powerfully, confidently.
Yeah.
It feels good.
Exactly right. And there's a term that Philip uses in the book. He says wild peace. And I love that wild peace. It's just like everything is in wholeness. The whole world is like, it's not wild in like crazy. It's wild as in enormous possibility and enormous connection to the essence of the world. And so, I don't know, I went off. I just, sometimes there aren't words for all that's, where were you, Pauline? What did you ask me?
I feel that oneness, that expansiveness. I think that you've really hit it. That makes a lot of sense. Well, I'd love to hear from some other folks if they have questions about anything that Marci's been talking about, or challenges in their own life, if there's a certain situation that really throws you and you'd want some advice on, what can you do to come back into that embodied way of being.
Great.
And if you want, we can unmute you. You could raise your hand or put a comment on the chat, or we could unmute you so you can talk.
Lovely. I'd love to hear experiences or questions, whatever's up for you. And anything is a great question. Anything at all. I've got everyone really relaxed, so they're not.
Give them a moment to see what they come up with. I have a practical question. You said you started a teacher training about a year ago. How long is that training, and are you planning to offer workshops or anything?
I am. Actually, my final week is starts on the 22nd, or so, 2 weeks from now. I'll be down in Santa Barbara doing a 5-6 day event. And after that, we'll do some practice teaching, and he'll let us know if he feels like we're ready to go or what we might need to do. And so the format of if I do it the way he prescribes it, it would be a weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and possibly a Friday night. But knowing me, it will be a conglomeration of all the things that I know in the world, and not the part continuum, part, connecting like we do at the Human Awareness Institute and all of that. So, yeah.
So you do have a workshop brewing that
I do.
Stay tuned and hear more about. Awesome. I bet it will be really powerful and deep, and a lot of presence and sharing. And I can't wait.
Yeah.
We did get a couple questions.
Oh, good.
So the first person said, quite often I find I don't realize how calm I am until someone says something to me. This is something that I try to do each morning to start my day. This past weekend, I realized how unflexible I am. Will this help me open up my whole body? I'm guessing this meaning the exercise that you taught us.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm curious about that you already feel calm and grounded in the morning. But the unflexible part, does that mean, I guess I'm asking you, does that mean in your body? You mean unflexible in your body or unflexible in your way of relating or beingness? Can you answer that, honey? And body movement. Okay. I believe to be flexible in your body, you have to move your body. So this could loosen up your hips some if you went ahead and did those figure eights every day. But they're not going to change like tight muscles or anything unless you take on another kind of movement, which I recommend Continuum. It's very fluid and very gentle and very soft. Some yoga classes are difficult for some people, and I don't know if there's Continuum where you live, but it would soften you, and that would in some ways be more flexibility. That's what I know about that.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
And someone else said she feels like she needs shortcuts to help bring herself back to presence, unless she has something physically occupying her hands and attention. She can drift off really quickly. So any shortcuts to help bring people back? Yeah, the breath is always my first choice to bring me back, is to notice if I'm breathing deeply and fully or not. And I hold in myself that my breath is the kind of the access point to my presence. So taking a breath where your belly expands is a perfect way to do that. And a shortcut would be to take that ball and just drop. Don't even bother with the ball in the perineum. Just find the center of your awareness and drop it down through. Probably can do that in 30 seconds. We could do another little breathing piece for a moment if there's no more questions, but I don't know if that, there are other techniques, and when I'm not going to say if, but when my workshop about this comes to fruition, there would be like you'd have a dozen or something of different ways, because I think different people have different ways that work for them better. Some it might be the visualization, some might be the sense of breath, some might be more physical things. So, yeah. Good. You keep doing that, Laura. Drop the ball. Drop the ball, the energy ball. That would be great. Love having you here, honey. Yeah.
Hey, Pauline and Marci, this is Marilyn. I'm not sure how to raise my hand, so I just unmuted myself. Is that okay?
Yeah, good to hear your voice.
Thank you. And mine is a very practical question, because I knew when I signed up for the webinar that I would be on another call for the first part of it, and so I just came into this call just at the end of the exercise, and so I'm hoping that, I see it's been recorded, I'm hoping that we will be able to have access to the recording so that we can do the exercise. I can practice the exercise after the call. Is he nodding? Pauline?
Yes, absolutely. I will send it out via email, and it will be posted on the High website and also on our High YouTube channel, and probably on Facebook too.
Oh, good.
Thank you. And Marci, it's lovely to meet you. I've not ever been in your physical presence, but that was the other reason that I wanted to be on this call as well. So.
Oh, I wish I could see your face. Where are you speaking from?
I'm in Columbus, Ohio.
Columbus. All right. Well, I'm glad to meet you, Marilyn.
I could, I don't know, you can see the underside of my desk. There you are.
There you are. Oh, hello. What a lovely face you have, honey.
Thank you.
Great.
So there we go. We've met. Thank you. Virtually. Okay.
Oh, there will be another moment in time.
Any more questions about anything that Marci talked about, or any challenges you have in implementing any of this? Well, do you want to do one more breathing exercise, Marci?
What I like to imagine is that often we have fewer words when we're really grounded. They're not, we're just sitting in our own presence with ourselves. And so, there's another breathing thing. Let's just do this. And so sit up kind of so that you feel yourself in alignment wherever you are. We're not going to, I'm not going to have you stand right now. Let your knees be soft and feel your feet on the floor. And I want to ask you to bring your attention just to your sternum. That's the bone right in the center of your chest. And just breathe right there. Just breathe right there, a couple breaths. So you're kind of holding your stomach still, your belly still. Maybe 3 breaths there. And then stop and just breathe normally. Just notice that is one way to breathe. And it's one way that can actually make us a bit anxious. If we only breathe from our sternum, it actually brings the energy way up, and it can cause us some anxiety, actually. So just I want you to notice that is a place that you breathe from. And then earlier we talked about breathing from the belly. So just now put both hands on your belly and just let your belly expand nice and round with the breath. And exhale, again, releasing to the in-breath. And releasing to the out-breath. Nice full breaths, round belly. Just reminding you of that releasing to the in-breath. Releasing to the out-breath. The belly really, really needs to move when you breathe. We have a cultural, horrific thing that says you're not supposed to have a round belly. Let's just get rid of that and breathe right into your belly. Soft and round. Just, little children, little babies walk around with these soft, round bellies because they know how to breathe. They're amazing. So let's just breathe in the belly. And notice the difference, breathing from the belly and the sternum, those two different places. And softening into receiving the breath. A very feminine thing is to receive. So just receive the breath. It's a gift to you. So I'm moving through this faster than I would if we were in a workshop together, but I'm going to shift now to breathing into your back. Some of you may have a strong sense of that. Some of you may have never thought about breathing into your back. So one way to be able to do that, if you take your thumbs around to the bottom of your rib cage, your rib basket, and above your the iliac crest of your pelvic bowl, so they're right, if you kind of cup your hands and bring them to your back, it's right above your kidneys. And see if you can make your thumbs move by taking a breath into those two spots. So it's the concentrated focus. You might notice that your sides are moving a little bit. Your belly's still soft. But you're breathing into your back. Now, another way, if you happen to do yoga and you know pose of a child, which is when you have your body curled up kind of in a fetal position with your knees pressed into your chest and belly on the floor facing down. That's another way that you actually can feel your ribs expand out and you breathe into your back. But if that's not a position that you can get in, this is a really good way. And this is also a place that you can work with another person with. And you can put your thumbs into a partner's this spot in their back. And ask them to push your thumbs out with their breath. So just notice that you've got that capacity. It's a capacity to breathe into your back, and it expands your openness, your wholeness, your everything. Expands your everything. All right, so release that. And now I'm going to ask you to bring your attention to your perineum once again. The perineum, that muscle at the very bottom of the pelvic bowl. And I know that this is physically impossible, but it's a visualization that you're breathing through the perineum, that you're bringing breath up through the perineum, letting it fill the body, and then the exhale, if you care where the exhale goes, if you need that visualization, you can just send it down your legs and into the floor. So breathing through the perineum and down through the legs. And Laura, this would be a good one you could do any moment. Breathe through the perineum, the visual, and down through the floor. So you're connecting deeply with the earth at the same time. A couple more breaths like that. Just notice how it feels to imagine that breath is coming up into your pelvic floor from a different direction, filling you with awareness, with openness, with aliveness, and then exhaling down the legs. And then just let that settle. And I'm not going to take you through this, because what the next thing would be is I would have you lie on the floor and do a full body breath. But just as you're sitting, feel the breath in as many places as you can. Feel your chest lifting as you release to the in-breath. Feel your shoulders softening down, your belly nice and soft and wide. Breathing through the perineum. Maybe the bones feel like they're expanding out, moving out just a little bit. Feeling your back moving. Every place that's moving, you're bringing in aliveness. You're bringing in awareness. You're bringing in presence. Your presence. Your own ability to be fluid in the world, to be present, to respond in great openness. And then very gently, just bringing yourself back to the screen, to this very present screen. And again, if you have any words of how that was, happy to see those. Notice how you're doing right now. Okay.
I feel great. I feel very relaxed. I liked the whole body breathing, and the breathing into the back was new for me, and that did feel my ribs expand in a different way.
It just makes, it's the more available that I am in my body, the more available I am in the world. So here's a little thing you could take home. If you have somebody at home that you could do this with. This is a really great way to feel the back moving. You could stand back to back and let your backs come together. You bend your knees like a little bit, so that you're not pushing each other and your bums aren't in the way. And so body's in the way. So you feel each other's back, and then you might feel pressure, you might feel warmth, but I want to ask you, if you do this with a partner, to let the breath be what brings you into awareness with each other. And so you just be there together, knees bent, back, breathing into your back, and feeling that expansion in the back. So it's really lovely because you're feeling how another person's back breathes while you're also aware of your own back breathing. And after maybe 10 breaths or so, you just gently separate maybe about 6 inches and feel what's going on between the two backs. It's actually a very sweet, like, oh, you know, it's so funny in our culture, you know, we're so front oriented, and, you know, you have to be at the front of the line, you have to be at the head of the company, you have to be all this. And really, there's so much information. Our history is behind us, the ancients are behind us, and our back is another access point. And this is a way to feel the actual sensation of, I've got your back. You know, I'm behind you. I've got you. And I really think it's a powerful thing to do with a friend or partner or whatever.
Oh, great. Thank you. Another tip we can take away and practice with people in our life. I look forward to trying it. Thanks. And I'm seeing lots of great feedback in the chat, the comments about people like the different experiences with those different breaths. So thank you for teaching us that. And we are just getting to the end of our time together, so we'll just have a couple more things to wrap up. And then, Marci, is there a way people can be in touch with you after this if they have questions or if they want to learn more?
Absolutely. My email is, where can we put that?
We can type it into the chat.
Okay.
And speak it. Why don't you speak it and I'll type it.
My email is Marci, MARCI, at waterwisdom.us.
There you go. Jason put it for you. Thanks.
He's Mr. Speedy Gonzalez on the computer over there. Yeah.
Right.
I'm
Thanks,
happy,
Jason.
really happy to be in contact with people. Or if you want me to put you on a list that would be interested in a workshop, I would love to have your name and your contact info, so that it may be 6 months or 9 months from now, but it's percolating in me, so I'd be happy to do that.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you. So people can just email you if they want to be put on that list, right?
Yes. I do have a website, but it is nothing about this. If anybody's interested in seeing some of my artwork, it's waterwisdom.us. So.
Yeah. Beautiful things on there. Definitely worth checking out. And also, I mentioned at the beginning of the call, you're one of the workshop facilitators for High Global. Can you say a couple words about that and what we do and how this embodied presence work complements what we learn through High?
So High found me, gosh, it's been almost 18 years ago now. I can't even believe that, 17. And High is about love, intimacy, and sexuality, and getting more and more present to yourself. And I feel like what we teach is communication and how to love yourself so that you're more present and loving to others in the world. And I believe this body piece it's not a piece that we teach at High. Sometimes we have little droplets of it, but not a lot of it. And I feel like this will enhance your experience of anything you do, but also of intimacy. And I recently came across the sense that intimacy is an experience where the world touches your core. So if at High we're doing exercises in intimacy, and we're not talking about a sexual experience there particularly, we're talking about knowing oneself and knowing another. And if a person can be more intimate with their own core, then there's just so much more to receive. And the final line of our mission statement is High wants to create a world where everyone wins. And my own sense in my body is when I'm present to myself and can access this wisdom that's pulsing all through me all the time, that the world will when we trust and believe in ourselves, and this is one way, by accessing the body, we will be more present in the world, which makes the world a better place. And High's work completely and radically changed my life. And it's it's beautiful, every part of it. I feel honored and privileged that I get to walk around in the world and do that work. And this work just feels like a support system for it, maybe. And of course, it's not essential, but human awareness is what it's all about. And this is all about human awareness too. It's very connected to me. Can't hear you. Your audio's off, Pauline.
Thank you. So yeah, thank you. That makes perfect sense to me. And I definitely see the tie-in. I typed a quote that you wrote earlier into the chat because I just loved it so much. It was something like, the more available you are in your body, the more available you are to the world. And to me, that really sums up a lot of what we're doing in High too, is you have to be available to have those genuine, intimate connections. And so this is a great starting point, kind of a foundation underneath a lot of the relationship tools we teach in High. So,
yeah. Thanks for weaving that in, Pauline.
Mm-hmm. And anybody who wants to learn more about High, you can go to our website, www.hai.org, and learn more about that and learn more about Marci. Marci's got a picture on there and a link to her website from the High website also, so you can stay connected that way also.
Thank you, my dear. You've been a delight to work with. You asked great questions and helped me go in deeper myself, which is always what I want. So thank you.
Great. Thank you. Always fun to hang out with you and talk, and I enjoyed learning about this too. So thank you for your time, and thank you to everybody who came and listened, and we'll send out the recording and share it with your friends. And we'll all just keep learning and deepening together into more wholeness.
Hugs and kisses to all of you, and namaste. Yeah, thank you.